We're going to start a series here this morning on the gifts of the Spirit and how the Spirit wants to use those to form the body of Christ. There's 4 different lists of gifts that the Spirit gives the church in the New Testament. We're going to be looking at one kind of special category of gift. They're not better than the others, they're just different. And they're called the charismatic gifts. These are a unique category. Paul refers to them using a unique word, charismata, and says that they're manifestations of the Spirit. And so there's a supernatural dimension to these gifts. For that reason, they tend to also be the most controversial. We believe these gifts are for today, but it occurred to us that we haven't taught on this for a long, long time. And so we want to have a little series about these gifts of the Spirit and how the Spirit wants to use them to form the body of Christ. So this is, we're entitling this Spiritual Bodybuilding. And we're reading out of 1 Corinthians 12. And I'll read verse 1 and then verses 4 through 14. So Paul says, now about the gifts of the Spirit, brothers and sisters, I don't want you to be uninformed. That's why we're doing this series, because we realize that probably there's some folks here who are uninformed about this. There are different kinds of gifts. And he uses the word charismata, but the same Spirit distributes them. There are different kinds of service, but it's the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and in every one, it is the same God at work. And he's always emphasizing the same Spirit and the same God, because these gifts are supposed to work together organically, not in competition with each other, but under the direction of one and the same God, same Lord, same Spirit. So then he says in verse 4, now to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit, that's a special word he uses for this category of gifts. The manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. All the gifts are for the common good. To one, there's given through the Spirit a message of wisdom. To another, a message of knowledge by means of the same Spirit. To another, faith by the same Spirit. To another, gifts of healing by that one Spirit. To another, miraculous powers. To another, prophecy. To another, distinguishing between spirits. To another, speaking in different kinds of tongues or languages. To still another, the interpretation of those tongues or languages. All these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and he distributes them to each one just as he determines. Now, just as the body, the one, has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. The body of Christ. It's one body, but it has many parts. For we were all baptized by one Spirit so as to form one body. Whether Jew or Gentile, slave or free, doesn't matter. We were all given the one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but of many.